Hey folks, welcome to the 291th Dark Horse Podcast live stream with me, Dr. Bret Weinstein, and this lovely person to my left, Dr. Heather Hying. It is late August.
It is late August.
It is late August.
There's always a sadness about late August.
And a weird feel in the air. There's just kind of it's like a gap. I don't know what I mean by that, but I feel it as sort of a gap, yes. Anyway.
It makes me miss, you won't have this sense at all, but it makes me miss the academic schedule, the academic calendar, because at this time of year, many people are starting anew. It is a formalized moment to start anew, and without being beholden to an academic schedule, one can just feel the timer on summer running out without anything to promise its replacement.
Well, it's funny that you say I won't get that, because on the one hand, you're right. You're sort of right. At Evergreen, I enjoyed the teaching enough that I did anticipate the beginning of a new program and, all of that. But in general, as a student, I sure didn't appreciate the end of summer, but I so appreciated the break in the horror of schooling that happened during the summer, that it did have that importance. And maybe that's why I feel about August the way I do, is it's just, you feel it slipping away.
Mm-hmm. It's true. So we're gonna have a fairly short and tight, I don't know if it's gonna be tight, show today. We appreciate those of you who are joining us on Locals. As always, please consider joining us there. We had a Q&A this last weekend. We talked about lots of interesting stuff. It's all up there on Locals, and you can join us live. We interact with the chat some. And let's just get right into paying the rent. We have, as always, 3 sponsors right up at the top, carefully chosen, including this week, one that is brand new to us. Our first sponsor this week is...
It has that new sponsor smell.
It has that new sponsor smell. And actually, it doesn't...
Actually, it doesn't really.
It really doesn't. It's fragrance free. It's awesome. This stuff is freaking awesome. So I'm just going to put it up there while I read about it, and then we'll demonstrate why. There's two things here. Our first sponsor this week is brand new to us. It's Branch Basics, which makes simple, all-natural, non-toxic cleaning products. We are thrilled to have found their products and think that you will be too. You already know how much toxic garbage is in our food and our air, our water and pharmaceuticals, our cookware and building materials. The list goes on and on and on. Cleaning products must be clean, right? Wrong. Maybe you already realized how complicated and unsafe most cleaning products are and wanted to start making your own. I went through that stage a few years back, but the making my own part never happened. There are some good, simple ingredients that you can use, you should have on hand. Isopropyl alcohol, vinegar, baking soda, but they're not always enough. That's where Branch Basics comes in. Unlike most cleaning brands on the market, Branch Basics discloses all of their ingredients on both packaging and website, 100% of them, which is not required by law. You didn't know that, did you? Nope. On most of your cleaning products, you're going to see a subset of what's actually in them. Transparency is key at Branch Basics, however, and when you use their products, you know exactly what you're bringing into your home. No dyes, no fragrances, no harmful chemicals, none of the toxins common in most household products, just simple plant and mineral-based formulas that are safe for humans and biodegradable. Whether you're dealing with skin sensitivities, hormone imbalances, or just want to protect your family and pets from unnecessary toxins, switching to Branch Basics is one of the easiest, most impactful changes you can make today. Branch Basics is also unique in that it ships to you as 2 products, a concentrate, here's the concentrate, and an oxygen boost, which I don't have on camera here, with bottles, empty bottles, such as this one, which is no longer empty, with which you fill to different concentrations for different jobs. So this is, for instance, the bathroom, the bathroom bottle, which we filled to here with water, and then to there with the concentrate, and then the rest of the way with water, which shows you how much you get for 1 bottle of concentrate. And when you run out, all you need to do is restock those 2 products, and you're again ready to clean everything in your home, from laundry to bathroom to countertops to produce even. We have found it effective and easy to use every place that we have used it, and the kits make great gifts for housewarmings or baby showers as well. Founded by 3 women on their own personal health journeys, Branch Basics was created out of a desire to heal. Through years of research, trial, and error, the founders discovered the powerful impact that removing toxins from their home environment had on their health. And now they're on a mission to help others do the same. Are you ready to clean up your home and your health? Head to branchbasics.com to shop their premier starter kit and save 15% off with code DARKHORSE at branchbasics.com. That's 15% off your new Branch Basics premium starter kit at branchbasics.com with promo code DARKHORSE. Make the change today because you and your family deserve better.
So I tried this stuff, of course, and the experience of it being highly effective at cleaning and not giving you a scent. We are so trained to expect a scent, and, you know, we sort of associate it with the idea of cleaning, but really the scent is just some extra thing that your body has to process. You're like literally inhaling it and you have to get rid of it.
Yep.
So anyway.
And in most
stuff.
commercially available products, the scent is actually put in there to obscure the disgusting smells of the things.
Yeah,
that
the
are
industrial smell. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So it's really, really good stuff. Highly recommend it. Branchbasics.com. Use code DARKHORSE, 15% off for their starter kit. It's great. Our second sponsor this week is Jolie, also great. Jolie is a beauty wellness company that purifies the water we shower in. Jolie's filtered shower heads help provide better skin, hair, and overall well-being. Most municipal water systems, indeed most water systems, period, use chlorine to disinfect the water. But chlorine is damaging to skin and hair. Add to that fact that a lot of water also contains heavy metals, which are also not good for your skin or hair. Because the water we shower with also becomes water that we inhale in the form of aerosolized. I've written aerosolized. That's not a word.
Aerosolized. Wow, that's
yeah.
even worse.
That's right. in so far as it doesn't exist.
It's not. Yeah.
Because the water we shower with also becomes water that we inhale in the form of aerosolized particles, depending on your water source, you may be breathing chlorine and other contaminants when you shower, which goes straight to your lungs. Jolie cures this problem. Jolie makes a filtered shower head so that you can bathe in water which starts out clean. Jolie's shower heads remove chlorine and heavy metals from your water and have been demonstrated to reduce the shedding of hair in 81% of people who use them. After showering with Jolie shower heads, people report that their hair is less frizzy, their skin is softer, and they are having fewer breakouts. Okay, but we've all experienced water filtration systems at some point, and one thing that seems to always happen is that pressure is reduced. Suddenly, where you had a nice high-pressure stream, now you've got a trickle. This is not a problem with Jolie shower heads. The water pressure is still very strong, and now your water is clean and clear. Also, these shower heads are quite beautiful, the perfect combination of form and function, and the plumbing pipe size is universal, so it's easy to install. When we were approached by Jolie, our first thought was, we don't really need this. Our water is already quite clean. But we tried out one Jolie shower head, and we liked it so much we installed it in our other shower. Jolie will give you your best skin and hair guaranteed. Head to jolieskinco.com/darkhorse to try it out for yourself with free shipping. That's JOLIE skinco.com/darkhorse for free shipping. And if you don't like it, you can return your Jolie for a full refund within 60 days, no questions asked. Jolie is also available on Amazon and at select Ulta stores. Get yours now.
Very, very good stuff. All right. Our final, last, and ultimate sponsor this week is Crowd Health, which is unlike any other service on the market. We know because before they were a sponsor, we went looking for exactly what they provide. We desperately wanted to get our family out of the health insurance rat race and did with Crowd Health. Crowd Health is better than health insurance, and you take agency over your health and rid yourself of the bureaucracy of the healthcare system with Crowd Health's new Black Swan membership. It's the healthcare alternative for people who want autonomy over their care, their costs, and their lifestyle. So you're ready for those rare but potentially devastating black swan events in your life. With Crowd Health, you stay in control without insurance and their network dictating your care. So important. Wait. You seem to think I've read it incorrectly.
Well, just like, so we're gonna pick this right up. So Crowd Health's Black Swan thing is new. So Crowd Health is better than health insurance, and you can take agency over your health without the bureaucracy with Crowd Health's new Black Swan thing. So with Crowd Health, you stay in control without insurance and their networks dictating your care. That's all.
Yeah, no, I think that's all true, and I feel like I said those things, but if I didn't, now you know.
So so we're going to keep on with the ad here, but we are thrilled with Crowd Health. We've had them as a sponsor for over a year now, but we had them in our own lives. We were paying for their service before we had them as a sponsor, and they really are fantastic. We've talked about them before. They've got this new product, which they don't call it this, but I read it as effectively their analogy to catastrophic health insurance. So it's even less expensive than their already ridiculously affordable service, which is this Black Swan. I don't know what they call it, black swan system. Something.
Yes, the thing. I feel I nailed that. All right. Health insurance in the United States is a mess at every level, as you all well know. Enter Crowd Health. It's not health insurance, it's better. It's a way to pay for healthcare through crowdfunding. Stop sending money to fear-mongering insurance companies who profit off you while barely covering your medical needs. Check out Crowd Health instead. With Crowd Health's new Black Swan membership, you get healthcare for under $100 a month. This gets you access to a team of health bill negotiators, low-cost prescription and lab testing tools, and a database of low-cost, high-quality doctors vetted by Crowd Health. And what if something major happens? You pay the first $15,000, then Crowd Health steps in to fund the rest. It feels like the options we used to have before Obamacare messed everything up. And of course, you'll join the crowd, a group of members just like you who want to help pay for each other's unexpected medical events. We've been members of Crowd Health for well over a year now and have been completely delighted to be free from the insurance morass, contributing to a group of people with whom we have aligned interests and interfacing with both people and systems that are functional, easy to use, and intuitive. Crowd Health's new Black Swan membership may just be the choice for you if you're looking for assurance that a medical catastrophe won't ruin you financially and want to be part of a growing community of people who have opted out of health insurance. Black Swan moments might be rare, but good health insurance alternatives shouldn't be. Get started today for as low as $80 per month for your first 3 months by using the code DARKHORSE at joincrowdhealth.com. Mandatory disclaimer is Crowd Health is not insurance. Opt out. Take your power back. This is how we win. Join crowdhealth.com is the address. All right. No, giving that to you.
Yeah. What if I want to join?
You already know, and you have joined. Yes. So there is that.
Yeah. Let me start.
Fair enough.
Actually, can you see my screen? See, I thought I'd start like just while my screen is still visible to the tech powers that be. This will be good.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So earlier this month, Illinois Governor Pritzker signed a bill into law mandating mental health screening for children in grades 3 through 12. And here is the tweet that he shared. And it's easy to mock him for the tweet, honestly. Illinois is now the first state in the nation to require mental health screenings in its public schools. Our schools should be inclusive places where students are not just comfortable asking for help, they're empowered to do it. So he's using the language of wokeries, and he's not shy here about saying require. Elsewhere, in fact, if you click through onto this, the news, the media source that he is referring to here, you find a piece that is using the word universal. Pritzker signs legislation to implement universal mental health screenings in Illinois schools. Let's just read a little bit of this. Students in 3rd to 12th grade in Illinois, and this is from, July 31st, 2025. So I believe it was signed into law. I thought it was at the very beginning of August, but maybe it's the very end of July of this year. Students in 3rd to 12th grade in Illinois will be able to take annual mental health screenings starting in the 2027-2028 school year under a bill Government J.B. Pritzker signed into law Thursday. So already we have an inconsistency. We'll be able to, as opposed to universal, as opposed to required. Screenings provide early identification and intervention so that those who are struggling to get the help that they need as soon as possible. So that's not actually good English, is it? Did I misread that? It's
not going to surprise me at all. Not really.
I read this before, but it didn't strike me as so off. So this is a quote from Pritzker in this article from WTTW, which looks like a local public broadcasting channel in Illinois. Screenings provide early identification and intervention so that those who are struggling get the help that they need as soon as possible, Pritzker said. I maligned him unnecessarily. They improve academic and social outcomes. They help us break down the stigma that too often is a barrier to seeking help. So he's speaking as if this is established, as if these screenings that are now going to be, are they mandated or are they optional? It's not clear yet. are definitely going to help. But what you find when you look at the bill, and I can show us some of the bill if we want to end up looking at it, is that part of what the bill requires is that various statewide health agencies help figure out what the screenings are going to be. And then they feed those to the schools. So we don't even know what the screenings are yet, which of course makes it difficult to critique precisely what is going on here. But it also means that claims that they improve academic and social outcomes and help break down the stigma that too often is a barrier to seeking help, those claims can't be known. Those claims are like claiming that the vaccines were safe and effective when they couldn't possibly have known that they were safe. Claiming that these screenings that don't yet exist are going to improve academic and social outcomes puts the lie to the claim.
It's purely aspirational.
It's purely aspirational. The piece continues. The mental health screenings would be self-assessed, with students being able to take the screening on a tablet or a form, according to Dana Weiner, Chief Officer for the Children's Behavioral Health Transformation Initiative under the Governor's Office, and who was credited for laying the foundation for the piece of legislation. Parents can opt their students out of mental health screenings if they wish, Weiner added. Not clear how easy that will be to do, and if you have to do it every year, and if you then yourself. So we're trying to avoid stigma, right? We're trying to avoid the stigma of mental health problems for children, but of course there will be the stigma of opting out of things that everyone has already agreed make you a better human being. So just like opting out of vaccine mandates came with a heavy stigma, but was obviously the right thing to do, I'm imagining that opting out of such screenings will also come to have a stigma. The screenings are a form of detection and are not meant to serve as a diagnosis, according to State Senator Laura Fine, who chairs the Mental Health Committee. Detection, not diagnosis. It's an interesting distinction that probably doesn't mean anything. This is a quote from Fine, from State Senator Laura Fine. We've got children in third grade who are struggling, and we need to be able to reach these kids, and now they will have access to that age-appropriate and confidential mental health screening, Fine said. The screenings will be designed to catch the early signs of anxiety, depression, or trauma before it becomes a crisis, or in some cases, sometimes too late. So I want to come back to the idea that anxiety, depression, and trauma are real problems for many third graders. Some children experience trauma, and some of those traumas are hidden from the adults in their lives. And we all know that this is true, and we all know that those children should be helped if they possibly can be. But the idea that anxiety is a creeping crud in society now, that we need to be alerting children to the fact that maybe they have it and maybe that's a problem, reminds me very much of the gender ideology that is in schools even younger than third grade, wherein you inform a child of something that isn't real. Maybe you're in the wrong body. Maybe the fact that you like to play with trucks even though you're a girl means you're actually a boy, and maybe we should be talking to you about that. And do you want to change your name? I feel like the focus on anxiety for young children is very much the same, and it's creating a culture of incompetence, of other sufficiency, of anti-self-sufficiency, and of just not being able to think through the world on your own and learn how to deal with it as it comes.
Yeah, we've talked about this many times, but it is going to create learned helplessness.
Yes.
In other words,
yes.
One of the purposes of childhood is to learn to deal with your anxiety. Yes. Right? Anxiety is an adaptation.
Exactly.
It can be maladaptive. You can have too much anxiety, or it be triggered over nothing, or whatever. Right. But the basic point is you have to learn the lesson that you are misperceiving how serious something is and how big an implication it has for your life, so that you can learn to calibrate. What happens if, because you're feeling anxiety, and we treat it, it's the same damn mistake that all medical fields make, yep, as if pain is a pathology rather than pain is a signal, right? If you treat anxiety as a pathology and you step in and you treat it, what you're doing is you're creating a person who doesn't know how to deal with their own anxiety. You're creating a patient for life. And it does raise for me the question about what is driving this. And yes, one possibility is that there are people who are not the friends of your child. These are the enemies of your child, who do want to turn your child into a permanent profit center, and getting schools to participate in screening them for stuff that psychology pretends it knows what to do, but demonstrably makes matters much worse in many cases. The idea of, well, it's your choice as a parent. Would you like to opt your child out of our attempt to figure out whether there's something seriously wrong? Well, that doesn't sound like a very good idea, does it? Of course, it probably is a very good idea to opt out. But then, of course, you will be held responsible for anything that goes wrong in your child's life, despite the fact that your child is in a totally broken system, in a world that doesn't take care of them, in which predators are allowed access to them. So there's lots that can go wrong. And the idea that, well, you did opt out, didn't you?
Right. And, again, it's vague yet. The screenings don't exist yet. They're being claimed to help, which we can't possibly know because they don't exist. It's being claimed that it is both mandatory and that you can opt out, that they are confidential. And yet if you can opt out, how is taking them going to be confidential? What are the children whose parents have opted them out going to be doing while the other kids are taking these either on a tablet? Yeah, that's going to help with your anxiety, with putting third graders in front of screens for more time, or in front of some form, which, a lot of third graders aren't exactly comfortable with their handwriting yet. So, they're off, getting more anxious because of the thing they're being put through. And the other kids are doing what? And how is it that everyone doesn't know who's doing it? And okay, so the results aren't going to be public, but then where do they go?
Well, wait a second.
There's so much ambiguity here, and there are so many claims of what an amazing piece of progress this is, that Illinois is the first state in the country. And again, they do say, they do claim in this piece, the law makes Illinois the first state in the country to mandate universal mental health screenings in schools, Pritzker said during a bill signing ceremony at Chute Middle School in Evanston. Mandate universal mental health screenings. Mandate universal COVID vaccinations. It's the same language, and like, oh, well, you can opt out. Well, okay. What does your mandate mean? What does universal mean if you can opt out? Therefore, I question how easy you're going to make it to opt out and how socially possible it is going to be to do so.
And not only how socially possible at the level of the parents, but imagine what's going to happen in school, right? Some number of kids are going to take one of these screenings, probably designed by some malevolent force in order to justify treatment that they will then profit from. But let's just say it's even clumsy. Yep. Right. And some student who is, not yet good at calibrating expectations or just doesn't know how to understand the question,
right,
says something. Oh, my goodness. Apparently, Julie, you have an issue with anxiety. Anxiety. Suddenly things go into motion, and suddenly Julie is special in somebody's eyes. They're trying to figure out what might be going on, whether it has anything to do with why she's not succeeding at this, that, or the other. She mentions it to her friend. Mm-hmm. And it's like, well, apparently I have a problem with anxiety, right? And they discuss what was asked. How did they know that? What was asked on the thing? You can imagine a contagion flowing through the students based on the fact that they become special if they say certain things and they fail to be special. And what's more, don't have something to say. Let's suppose they're not succeeding in school. And then you're handed the tablet that figures out whether you have a problem with anxiety. And then it comes back that you don't. Well, now you've just got a problem in school, and the same argument that you're having with your
Maybe
parents.
You're just stupid.
Whatever it is.
That's the thing that comes back to you. You're like, wait a minute. Why, really? Those are the options? I'm anxious or I'm stupid?
Right, or lazy or whatever.
Yeah.
But wouldn't it be marvelous if you could go back to your parents and say, oh, they figured out why I'm having trouble in school. It's anxiety, Well,
and this is, there's the state senator who said this isn't diagnosis, it's detection. But, detection of what? And, from detection of what goes to diagnosis pretty quickly. And we do, we humans, with all of our language, sure do like to have names for things. And we feel better. We feel calmer if we have some vague, oh my God, what's going on with me? I can't figure it out. Like, oh, you've got an X. Oh, okay. Well, other people have seen this before.
Yeah.
Other people have experienced this before. I have an X. At least I know that there's a real thing. It's not all in my head. I'm not totally alone in the world. And so, every human being has had that experience sometime or sometimes of feeling relieved, sometimes despite themselves, sometimes in spite of their own analytics who are telling them do not feel better just because there may be a name for the thing that you are experiencing, because the names don't necessarily name real things. They don't necessarily, they aren't necessarily applied in the appropriate place. But a child, we're continuing to do this to children.
Yeah.
Where we bring them into our delusions, our systems of control and authority and certainty, and we inform them at an age when they are supposed to be exploring everything, saying fantastical things that couldn't possibly be true. And sometimes they know that, and sometimes they don't know that. And it is their right as children to be allowed to explore space and time while they are children, where they do not have to distinguish between the reality and the fantasy of their own beliefs that they are forming. And when you have authorities with their mental health questionnaires coming in as early as 3rd grade, and in fact, in the bill, it says kindergarten, it's not clear to me what that connection, what that disconnect is. Like, we have to stop informing our children of our current delusions. We have to stop. We have to protect them from our insanity instead of feeding it to them and encouraging them to come along with us.
Johnny, I think you might be a squid.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's that.
It's 3/4 of the way there.
Yeah.
And what's more, the track record of clinical psychology at treating mental pathologies is not good.
Oh, it's not.
It's not good. And so there's a failure to recognize that pain is a symptom in psychology, as we fail to recognize the same thing in medicine. But there's also a failure to realize that a person is a complex system, and that you can come up with some very clever description of why the person is malfunctioning. Oh, it must be a serotonin deficiency, and so we can block the reuptake, or whatever intervention you're going to do. Very often this is downstream of a nonsense model used to justify some pharmaceutical that then decades later it turns out didn't do any good and did a hell of a lot of harm, because of course it would. You're intervening in a complex system. Almost the best thing you could give them is a placebo, right? The chances you're going to improve their well-being with some chemical intervention is pretty freaking low. But on top of that, that's true for an adult human being. What are the chances that you've got a chemical that fixes that person? Low. What are the chances you're going to mess that person up even worse if they're still in the process of developing, and you're going to intervene not only in their physiology, but in their development, right? Then the chances are near certain. Why? Because development is a process by which things that are not properly scaled or calibrated get properly scaled or calibrated, right? That's what it is. It's how you become a highly functional adult from being an utterly clumsy little baby and toddler, right? So the idea that the person is mentally discombobulated at 12 is not surprising.
Or 8.
Right.
Yes, of course they are. That's part of what being a pupa is.
Right.
Like, it's metamorphosis.
And the point
we don't
is,
call it that because, you can recognize a baby and a child and an adolescent as part of the same progression. Like, you don't go into a chrysalis and completely melt your insides and become something new, but it is a kind of metamorphosis. And us going in mid-metamorphosis and going, oh goodness, by our adult standards, that doesn't look good. Like, well, your adult standards are way off. And also, you forgot that that's a child.
Right. You forgot that that's a child. And not only, I love your point about they have a right to think fantastical things.
Yes, they do.
They also have a right to overreact, right?
Yes.
The point is, why do they have a right to overreact? So that they can learn not to do it. Right? You have to overreact and then discover that the consequences aren't what you hoped they were in an environment that is safe enough for that to work. And if the environment is scrutinizing you to see if you have adult pathologies and to cure them with a pill or, whatever, then the point is you will never learn it. And so, we are supposed to be protecting the children at all costs. And in every single way, we are like handing them over to, at best, moronic forces, often demonic forces that do not have their long-term interests at heart. And, it's so tough when you see it in this initial form. Because on the one hand, you could imagine, let's say that we lived in a civilization that actually really worked, was firing on all cylinders. And somebody said, well, look, there are some kids who are going to go on to have some problems. And we could probably help if we caught it early.
Yes.
So let's just put them all through a screening. And if the indicators that the pathology that goes on to be so serious later in life is present, let's at least start tracking it early, see whether or not the person actually has a problem. You could imagine a system that worked saying that and it not being like, oh my fucking God, what are they doing now? Right?
Right. Exactly. No, absolutely. So, I mean, among other problems here, time is zero sum. So school has already been turned over to, the gender ideologues in large part. So this is another piece of the school day, the school year. Okay, it's only going to be once a year. Maybe it's only going to be an hour out of one school day, but an hour out of a school day is a big chunk, right? So time is zero sum. I think that as crazy as school is in its modern form, that we could actually return to some valuable basics. Obviously, and this seems very retro, but the 3 R's actually do, and it's weird because they don't actually start with R except for one of them, so I don't know why we end up going with the 3 R's.
That is reading. Nature's way of telling you school sucks.
Right. Reading, which actually does start with R for those of you who are hanging on by a thread. Writing, which does not start with R, and arithmetic, which also does not start with R. But these are things that actually it is very hard to learn on your own. Okay.
Yeah.
It does help, and I don't think that most of the instruction that is being used is particularly effective. But there is a place in school to learn reading, writing, and arithmetic. And let's talk about the other things that are mostly disappearing from school that actually, and I'm thinking like elementary school, maybe into middle school now. Once you get into high school, there are things like lab classes and calculus and things, and again, that's math, but that really do take some careful consideration and probably do at least benefit from a school environment to learn them. But for the younger children, instead of providing them mandatory but optional mental health screenings, make sure that they're getting the 3 R's in a form that is actually helpful, as opposed to makes them, guess what, anxious about their incapacity to do these things. But then more recess. Let's bring back free play, like actual free play. So recess a few times a day without the hall monitors turned schoolyard monitors informing you that you need to include that guy over there, even though he's going to ruin your game. And you need to not be running so fast because you might trip and hurt yourself, right? So free play. Experimentation in the classroom and outside in the form of science and gardens, music, art. Okay, so these things, bringing children to exposure to music and art and experimentation and scientific thinking, and letting them engage freely with one another and resolve their own disputes, create their own games and resolve their own disputes, is, guess what, going to make them less anxious. And there will be some who aren't as good at integrating into groups at first, and they will feel left out, and they will be left out. And if you give it, if you come in as the adult and say you have to include him, the group that has been forced to include the kid who wasn't good at integrating is going to be resentful, and the kid who has now been forced in is not going to have learned anything. So that is going to make the problem worse, not better. I don't know how this isn't obvious to everyone who spends time with children. Like, honestly, I cannot believe we are decades into some of this total insanity in schools. And now, mental health screenings. How about lay off with your heavy-handed insanity and let the children be children?
Right. All right. I think I now know what's bugging me about this.
Okay.
Anxiety is the natural symptom of development.
Yeah.
That the point is, because look, the creature literally starts helpless, unable to roll over, and it ends up hopefully being, cogent and able and insightful and funny and all the things that you want your child to grow up to be. What process did this? Well, I'm going to come back to this another day, but the genes have to build the creature that is capable of developing into the fully fledged adult with all of the wonderful characteristics, but they don't do it. Development does it. And development is a process. And the reason it is so damn long in human beings is that it requires a hell of a lot of time to pick up all of the nuances to be an adult well, right? Where do you think they're coming from? They're coming from every single error that you made along the way. And all of those errors are what childhood is. So what happens? You make the error, right? You get overly angry at your friend and you yell at them and they're not your friend anymore and you miss them. And then you discover something about why you actually modulate your degree of anger rather than just always going to 11. Okay? That's lesson learned. And the point is, oh no, did I lose my friend? Well, now you've got some anxiety. That anxiety is supposed to be teaching you, and if you anesthetize it by whatever mechanism, you're going to screw that process up, and then you're going to do it as an adult, and you're going to lose somebody who would have been in your life for a long time when you didn't have to because somebody decided your anxiety was the problem.
Yes, your anxiety is a symptom. We need to stop treating symptoms and consider why the symptoms are there. What is causing the symptoms? And in the case of anxiety, it's not just a symptom, it's actually adaptive.
Yeah.
It is a signal as well as a symptom.
You know what it is? Mm-hmm. It's a teacher, just like pain. Mm-hmm. Right? Pain. Now you can have pain. That doesn't mean a goddamn thing. You can have a limb removed and you can have pain in the limb that you don't have anymore. That's not useful pain. But most pain is supposed to be training you. It's either telling you you did damage or you did something that could do damage. Don't do that again. Here's how important it is. Protect that limb because it needs to heal. Whatever it is, those things are teachers. And so the point is you have the school system going after the real teachers, right? The school system that doesn't know what it's doing, and the state which doesn't understand that a person is a complex system and what the implications of that might be. They're competing with the built-in teachers that actually do work.
Yeah.
So
I feel sad. Here's a happy pill. I feel pain. Here's a pain pill. I feel anxious. Here's some SSRIs. Like, no on all fronts, frankly. And yes, we both mean that with regard to the pain pills, almost especially because it's the most obvious one of them.
I feel like a girl. Call me Julie. Sorry, Bob. No, you're not a girl.
Yeah, and that one, the gender ideology madness is also so obvious because we adults made it up. We just made it up. It's our fantasy. And, are adults allowed to have fantastical thoughts and explore fantasy worlds as well as children? Yes. But we actually have a responsibility to keep it contained and to not pretend to those who can't tell the difference that our fantasies are reality. And so at the point that we have forced upon children who, as one of our own children has said about himself in retrospect at the age of 5, I didn't know what a boy or a girl was. Like, I knew what I was told I was, and it turns out it was true, but I didn't. If you had asked me what makes you a boy, like what feelings make you a boy, I've been like, I don't know, I just am a boy. But if teachers, if he had had different parents and different teachers, and he had started to be told, well, it's not what you look like, it's how you feel. Almost every child is going to become compelled by that because every child has had weird thoughts, has had fantastical thoughts. And so similarly, I was running and I twisted my ankle and it's swollen. How can I start running right away again? You can't. Because you injured yourself. That's going to happen. Not saying that you were inherently doing anything wrong, because you will injure yourself if you take physical risks, and you should take physical risks. But what you're going to need to do is listen to your body, let it heal. Do not mask the signals that it is sending you. And at the point that your body, without the help of pain meds, is informing you that you can now bear weight on your ankle again, and then later that you can run again, go for it. Do it.
Yeah,
But if you start running again when your pain is masked by meds, what is your body supposed to do? It can't help you anymore if you have told it, I'm not interested in your signals, I just want to do what I want to do. So this is retaining children in a state of perpetual immaturity because the entire society has demanded that we all get to be as immature as we want for as long as we want.
So it is like civilization-wide learned helplessness. But think also of the elegance of the system that is designed to teach you what to do about your sprained ankle, right? Okay. So you sprain your ankle. Oh God, there's pain. I can't put weight on it. What should I do? Don't put weight on it.
Right.
Brilliant, right?
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Really? I can't put weight on it? What if I'm being chased by a tiger? Oh, then you will be able to put weight on it. You'll see the pain will vanish, right? It will instantaneously, and you'll be running.
If your life actually depends on it, you'll be able to make it work.
Right. The whole system is built to be the little doctor on your shoulder that tells you, oh, no, you should run now. Right?
And that's fast. Actually.
And fast, right. And yeah, it's going to do some damage, but it's worth it compared to the tiger, right? So that system.
Also, where were you that you're now being chased by a tiger? It's interesting.
Oh, this is just a mental tiger.
Yeah.
But,
okay.
Which, it gives me a little anxiety, but I've learned to manage my mental tigers.
I don't think you should bear weight on your sprained ankle to run away from a mental tiger.
My mental
position.
ankle can handle it.
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
I will probably get mental arthritis in my mental ankle from running from this mental tiger, but I'll deal with that later. I mean, that's kind of the lesson.
Yes.
Right. But here I am, a well-functioning adult who knows these things because nobody anesthetized every little pain that I had.
Right. And you were forced to just deal with it.
Yeah.
And also, then you began to learn, I'm not functioning adults learn not to share every little bump and bruise that they have with the entire world, right? Babies talk about everything they're experiencing and they don't have language, but it's a little baffling and sometimes hard for the adults in their world, but oh my God, what is it now? What? Okay, there's 3 main things it could be, but it's none of those. So what is it? What's the complaint? But, as a 5-year-old, a child who was coddled and protected and just basically protected in every way from the world learns to bring every tiny little scrape and bruise to their parents and to also exaggerate, to be a little drama queen about how bad it is because that gets the attention that maybe the parents aren't otherwise giving because why? Maybe they're just stuck on their phones. And maybe... not maybe, of course, but actually what the parents should do is make sure that they spend real time with their children when no one is feigning the need for attention, such that when something happens that the child should now be old enough to learn how to handle on their own, they do so. Because it's far better to have your parents' full attention when you can both be fully engaging with whatever it is you're doing. Maybe you're learning to skateboard or play backgammon or I don't know, any number of things, as opposed to, oh, I can get my mom's full and undivided attention when she's applying a bandage to my boo-boo.
Yeah.
Stop it with the boo-boos all the time. Make sure it's clean and move on.
Yeah, you as a parent, you have to learn to recognize what actually requires intervention and how much. I mean, we talk in our book about the fact that we've now become reluctant about even doing things like putting a cast on a broken limb. If the limb is properly aligned, you're actually built to know what to do. And so anyway, won't go more deeply there, but think about what lesson do you learn from the system stepping in to deal with your anxiety that was supposed to train you to modulate your own emotions? Well, you learn that the way the emotions are modulated goes through this external party, and that you get some attention and, somebody suddenly is interested in your problems, whereas otherwise they might not be because you're a kid and they're probably not that important. So anyway, the point is, I've said in a number of places recently that addiction is one of these things that we've named after the pathological version.
Oh, what?
Addiction.
Addiction. Oh.
Right. And that the problem is that there's a good version of addiction which doesn't get filed in the same place. It's not like, oh yeah, addiction is the misfiring of passion or something like that, right? And that this is a problem because, I'll just take myself. I feel good when I hear that I am good under pressure, under fire, right? That I can not freak out at things that would cause other people to do.
And you are.
I am. But the point is, okay, that's a reward, an internally generated reward that that allows me to stare down things that other people can't. Okay.
It reinforces something that already existed in you, but that could have otherwise, probably wouldn't have in your case, but could have started to dissipate?
Oh, I absolutely think, I don't think it's written on a gene somewhere. I
sure.
think some early experience caused me to realize that actually when you do stare down certain stuff, it results in positive things, right? People look to you for, I don't know, advice or whatever. So I learned some early lesson, too early for me to remember what it was. And so I started developing some skill that now as an adult has turned into, well, I mean, it has a lot to do with what I now do for a living. So anyway, that's good. And how easy would it have been to interrupt that process and turn me into an addict of other people intervening to protect me from my own overreaction or whatever, right? So easy to have that happen. And last thing I'll say here, we haven't talked about sophistry in a long time, but
It's a timeless topic.
it needs a revival, because what's really going on here is arguments that sound right and are definitely not are being deployed because it's very hard to counter them, right?
Yeah.
Oh, you're really against us screening children for anxiety? Do you realize what anxiety can do to a person? And it's like two things. Yeah, it can. Second, learning to manage it is what childhood is for. And third, this is going to come from left field, but I just did a podcast, not yet out, in which microbiome issues turn out to have huge implications for these things. So to the extent that you have somebody...
These things meaning psychological
disorders of many different kinds. So the point is, actually, if we were wise and we did a screening that was careful and immunized against children gaming it in order to get attention or whatever, then the point is actually you might spot that somebody has an issue. And instead of prescribing some insane pharmaceutical, which is going to radically interrupt their neurobiology, might be that there's an intervention that has to do with correcting their diet. Gee, in what direction? In the direction of a natural diet that doesn't contain all of the artificial stuff that's causing the disruption of microbiomes, right? So you know,
drink kombucha.
So, but you've got the answer to all of these things is the same. Go back and fix the developmental environment and let the kid develop, right? That's the answer always, right?
And revel in it. Like that. This is one of the extraordinary joys of parenting. Is your kid is not a mini you, and you know, times have changed, and that makes things harder because of the rate at which times have changed and how artificial and toxic much of the modern environment is. But watching someone whom you helped create and are helping to grow reveal that they are utterly their own human being. They are not, you know, in one way they're half you and half their other parent. But that's the least interesting part of them, as we have said over and over and over again. The genes are the least interesting part. And so, yes, you know, we have two boys between us who are each half genetically, you know, one of us and half genetically the other of us. And that doesn't come up in conversation or in analysis, really, at all, right? It is, my goodness, from the very beginning, they both had personalities, and their personalities have changed, and they have, you know, woven and you know, I have said, for instance, before that I was very glad to have had two boys, because otherwise I might have attributed some of their personality differences to sex differences. Nope, they're just really different human beings, and they're both all boy, and it's just utterly delightful. And if you think that you can perfectly predict or perfectly form or perfectly mold what the future human will be, whom you have helped create and are parenting, you're wrong. Like, you're delusional. And you obviously want to do the best that you can, but the best that you can does not mean bringing certainty to either your role in their lives or to what you imagine they will be.
Absolutely. And it is really the point of life and the delightful part of life. And the thin end of the wedge was school. Well, there are actually some things, as you and I agree, there are some things that you're not going to learn on your own that are important to know. I mean, if you're going to be a part of our civilization, you do need to know how to write. And you'll learn how to speak without anybody helping you. You won't learn how to write without anybody helping you. You won't learn math. So there's a role for that. But once you have that role, you say, okay, what are the things that you won't learn on your own? Okay, that's school. And then it's like, well, what else could we add in there that might be enriching? And then before you know it, it's occupying a huge fraction of your time. And these people think that they're the thing that makes you smart. And that's really the error, right?
Yeah.
Oh, we're going to make you smart. No, you fucking not. You're not. At best, you're going to add some modules that will allow you to leverage the smart that you're going to pick up in the world better than you otherwise could. Mm-hmm. But you can also make a person dumber really easily. And one of the surefire ways to do it is to over-script their time and constrain what it is they're supposed to be doing with it. Your point about free play, you know, what is that really about? It's like, well, actually, they're going to need some training in life, and childhood involves a miniature world in which you can learn those lessons, right? You have like friends and people you don't like and somebody you fancy and all of that, and learning how to deal with those things, that's what that period is for.
Yeah.
It's just unbelievable that we would so, you know, we would be so in love with what we think we know about that totally mysterious process that we would just go interventionist governmental across the board and just think, you know, it is once again where Monty Python nails it. Right? They do it in their skit about the delivery room, you know, where the doctors are convinced that they are effectively producing a baby.
Yes.
And they are not realizing that actually they don't know almost anything about that process. They're just kind of facilitating at best.
At best.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same thing. This is like, you know, a cognitive birth process, and the government and school thinks that it's doing it. And it's like, no, at best, you've just broken it. That's it.
I'm reminded actually of one of the school where you and I met, where I was for 6 years and you spent your two final years of high school. It's a school that some people will have heard of only because Elon Musk blames it for having transed his kid. But Crossroads, the Crossroads School for Arts and Sciences in Santa Monica, California, which I loved and had just, you know, I started out as a music major there and just had, you know, the film curriculum there. I had 3-4 years of film with the amazing Jim Hosney and great books curriculum. It was just a really extraordinary school in a lot of ways. And they started maybe the year that you showed up or maybe the year before, for seniors, what I think was a mandatory year-long program called Mysteries. And I thought, what is this? Like, what nonsense is this? This is so woo. And we like sit around in a circle and like kumbaya, and it was ridiculous. And I thought, and there was also included a retreat to the Ojai Foundation, which involved a sweat lodge with, you know, some members of the graduating class. It was, you know, small classes, 100 people or so per class. And I think those Ojai trips had maybe a quarter of the class each. And I remember, you know, looking ahead at the end of junior year to this and thinking, yeah, there's so much else I want to do here. Why, like, this is taking up part of my day. And it was actually really remarkable. And I don't even remember what kinds of things were said in the circle on campus, you know, but it was a weekly class, I think. I think we had mysteries once a week. And they knew something. They knew something real about the kind of certainty that starts to develop in teenagers around what they know, what they've experienced, what they believe, what they care about. And this was a way of reintroducing correctly uncertainties and actual things that various people throughout history, throughout space, different cultures have known and have intuited, and what happens when you put two, you know, worldviews that both seem to explain a lot in next to each other, and they don't fully agree. Like, there was just a lot of sitting with paradox, actually, that happened in that school that felt to me at the time, as a sciencey sort of a person, like, what are we doing? And yet it was incredibly valuable.
Yeah, I think it actually reveals just one of the basic errors that is overtaking civilization, which is the liberals aren't wrong. They've seen something, the good ones at least. but they so easily get carried away with the nuance, and they will overwrite the entire functional system with that nuance and turn it into a completely unfunctional system, right? The desire, we saw this and talked about it with respect to what was a moral panic over racism, right?
Right.
Were liberals wrong? There was a racism issue? Well, obviously, they weren't in the 50s or the 60s.
Right.
Did it go away completely? No, it didn't go away completely. Hasn't gone away completely. But as it waned, and it did wane at the personal level, nobody wanted to be racist. It wasn't cool. And that's exactly what you want. It's a society in which it is socially bad for you to have that characteristic. So, but then the desire to keep that thing alive, to pursue ever smaller, now it's structural, right? Microaggressions, like, okay, what did you just say? Microaggressions? And you're asking me to be certain that is one rather than making a statistical argument over a population. Like, no, sorry, maybe the racism thing isn't the focus anymore. And, the structural issues, sure, but is it racism, right?
Right.
So that desire to keep the thing alive caused them to actually reinvent racism.
Yes.
I know it's
embrace it.
Yeah, to embrace it and then start wielding it as a weapon.
Yep.
And the point is, what did that do? Well, very predictably, it made everybody super race conscious and it revived racism. Congratulations. Well done, liberals. You almost had it and then you fucked it up. So anyway, point is, I agree with you that there was a point, back in the late 80s, apparently, when the liberal high school, there were some things that were a little too woo and some things that probably hadn't gotten there enough. But the basic idea of like, well, okay, maybe some fraction of this should involve, us talking about the mysteries of life. It wasn't wrong.
It wasn't wrong. It wasn't wrong. All right. Let's very briefly talk about Bobby Kennedy and the New York Times.
Yep.
And then go to what you want to talk about.
All right. Or maybe we put that one off, but.
Oh, we got a little time yet.
Okay.
So the New York Times wants to have its cake and eat its too. Eat its too? That's not a thing.
If I know the New York Times wants to eat your cake.
Yeah, they want their cake.
They want to have their cake and eat your cake.
Yeah, they want all the cake.
Yeah.
And they also want to be eating all the cake all the time.
And then treat it with a pill so that it won't look like they've eaten all the cake and it's not going to work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This has gotten, you can show my screen here. It's 100 push-ups and 50 pull-ups in under 10 minutes. What could go wrong? That's the headline from the New York Times. Fitness experts caution against jumping into a difficult routine suggested by Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and Pete Hegseth. So this has been on social media and apparently on the HHS page as well. The Pete and Bobby challenge is these two guys in a timed fitness challenge in a video, basically asking people to try to do 100 push-ups and 50 pull-ups in under 10 minutes, which, any human being who has any intelligence whatsoever will recognize that if they haven't been doing push-ups or pull-ups recently, they're going to be unlikely to be able to pull this off in under 10 minutes the first time they try, and that they should exercise some caution. I guarantee you, knowing nothing at all about Hegseth, but knowing Kennedy a little bit, that he is well aware of that, and that this was not intended to damage Americans. However, the New York Times needs to find something to argue with in every utterance that Bobby Kennedy makes, and so this article could be worse. I mean, it's insane, but it could be worse. But this sentence
challenge them.
But this sentence in particular strikes me as is just perfect. This is exactly what the New York Times does. The challenge might have seemed novel to some, but high-volume calisthenic couplets like this are nothing new.
Really?
And fitness experts caution they may not be for everyone. So this might seem new, but it's not new. Don't worry about it. Like, these guys are not onto anything new at all, so you shouldn't be impressed. But also, this is dangerous. So if it is new, it's dangerous. You definitely don't want to do it. But by the way, we've seen this coming. Like, we've all done this. They're claiming both sides both positions are simultaneously obvious and insane somehow, right? How did that sentence manage to make it through?
Somebody who has done no push-ups and no pull-ups wrote it is what happened.
Yeah.
This reminds me, there used to be a principle that I would break out for special occasions, which was, you're really on to something when the world tells you these two things simultaneously. What you're saying is dead wrong, and we knew it already.
Exactly.
Right? You get
It's that.
It's that. It's like,
yes.
oh, I guess I must be onto something. Now, the idea. So first of all, I will make my one complaint about the Kennedy Hegseth challenge here.
Yep.
100 push-ups and 50 pull-ups are from two very different universes, right?
What do you mean?
Pull-ups are incredibly hard. That number is really high.
A lot of people, a lot of women, myself included. I'm strong. I've always been strong, but I've never been able to do a pull-up. I can't do a single pull-up. And I, like back before Obama took away the presidential fitness test, thanks. And we were like kids in America were doing presidential fitness tests. The one place that I couldn't match my pre-adolescent peers of either sex was pull-ups.
Yeah, well, let's just say I don't understand how you get to those two numbers because they're really very, very different levels of challenge. And the 50 pull-up thing in 10 minutes, what?
Yeah,
no, crazy. But the
article goes on. It's like, well, they're not doing, their form isn't perfect. It's like, again, you can't have it both ways.
Right.
And, if their form is risking damage and people are going to copy their form, that's one thing. It's like, oh, well, they're not going up all the way. Like, okay.
Well, but okay, if it were sit-ups, there'd be room for an article, right? Because a person who doesn't know how to do a proper sit-up, maybe even somebody who does know how to do a proper sit-up, you can hurt yourself. You can hurt your back.
Yeah. What's
going to happen if you fail to do the push-ups?
You're going to be on the floor.
You will fail. You're starting out real close to the floor. The fall is not a big one. And if you're just,
you're just going to go down and you're not going to come back up.
Right. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's not that dangerous. And the pull-ups, you could suffer a severe case of embarrassment, right? But yeah, so it's sort of a self-regulating exercise here. And so the challenge, really, if there's one challenge, I mean, maybe I'm missing something, but I don't think anybody needs a warning on this one, right? Try it. See what happens. You'll learn something about where Bobby Kennedy is in his 70s versus where you are, and maybe it will motivate you. It's,
True.
It's pretty safe stuff.
Yep.
So
that's all I got there.
Yeah. Well, damn New York Times.
These people are so derivative and dangerous.
Exactly. Yeah. This is nothing and deadly. Okay. So last chapter here, I wanted to talk a little bit about a story that we actually know almost nothing about, but nonetheless, it opens the right topic. It's a topic that has been pokes its head through the surface every now and again. So the story is, and maybe you can put up the police report, the police media report on the arrest. So the basics of the story are that on, I think, the 18th of August in a place called Lindsay, Ontario, a 3:20 a.m. in the morning, the police responded to a call about an altercation. A man had confronted an intruder in his apartment. The person had broken in, was armed, and the person whose apartment it was apparently stabbed them. And
stab in here?
I believe so.
Stabbed. Okay.
And the intruder was severely injured and airlifted to a Toronto hospital. Okay, so far that's a story. But then the person whose
home it was.
It says homeowner, which is not right. The person in whose apartment this happened was charged with aggravated assault and assault with a weapon. And unfortunately, without more details on what happened, we can't tell if this is a story like, wait, what? You charged who? You charge the guy who was defending himself at 3 a.m. in the morning against an intruder who broke into his apartment. It's hard to imagine the situation in which that is not a reasonable response. And okay, it's too bad somebody got injured, but on the other hand, that is the risk you take when you break into somebody's home and they, awaken to find you in there.
Yep.
On the other hand, my dad, a lawyer, used to delight in throwing curveballs at us, where he would come up with scenarios, to see if you could figure out legally, if you, this was an actual one from long ago. You shoot and kill your best friend intending to kill him. But at the time, he was dressed as a gorilla and he had leapt out of a closet to frighten you. And so your intent to...
You were intending to kill the gorilla?
Right.
Or you were
intending to kill the gorilla, which turned out to be
You weren't
your friend.
intending to kill your friend.
Right, exactly. So how does the law deal with this? Should you have, known that it was a gorilla suit based on the fact that it was like a fancy Magilla gorilla suit, not a, the point is you could imagine the court case, right?
Yeah.
So the question is, what would the law make of that? But anyway, in this case, you could come up with scenarios, let's say, in general, and by the way, this is Canada, things are different in the US. Both the gun laws are different in the US, which is obviously not relevant, but is relevant to many of these cases where somebody ends up injuring an intruder. But you can imagine a case, right? Are you entitled, if somebody walks through your open door, right? Let's say that your door was left wide open and somebody walks into your house. So they are entering your house, but they didn't break in. Are you entitled to injure them? Well, it really often comes down to whether or not you have a reasonable reason to fear for serious injury or death, right? If the person was a 10-year-old child and you say, well, they broke into my house. Well, the answer is no. A 10-year-old child walked into your house and you shouldn't really have been afraid because you're a full-grown man, right? You wouldn't be justified in that case. On the other hand, if somebody, let's say somebody breaks in and they point a gun at you and you shoot them. Well, okay, what if the gun wasn't real? Well, it hinges on whether you thought it was real, right? That kind of thing. So, anyway, we don't know enough about this case, but I will say that there is a general trend widely discussed in gun rights, Second Amendment circles, where people who appear to be engaged in clear acts of self-defense find themselves on the wrong end of the law, that the law has become inverted in this way, where it now overly focuses on the likelihood that a person who broke into your house had a disadvantaged upbringing and, says, well, why didn't you, shoot him in the leg? Why'd you shoot him in the heart? Right. And it's just totally disconnected from reality. Again, don't know if this case is one in which the police have overreacted or whether actually there's some nuance to this story that makes the injury to the intruder somehow unreasonable. But in general, what I want to raise is the following possibility. We are stuck not knowing whether the attack on each and every one of the fundamental rights on which our civilization is based is the result of a bunch of numbskulls who don't know what they're doing, who have ascended to power and are experimenting on us. But that's as far as it goes. Yeah. Right? Is it a Chesterton's fence issue, therefore? Where it's like, well, what good is habeas corpus, really? Like, what's that about? Why? That seems cumbersome and like Latin. So why do we need that right? Why do you get the right to see the evidence against you if it's clear that the evidence against you, you're seeing it isn't going to change the fact that it absolutely conclusively proves blah, blah, blah. You could imagine people upending all of the hard-won core elements that allow Western civilization to run.
Because they've lived in a successful Western civilization for so long that they've forgotten what the fundamental features of it were that allowed them to live the way they live.
Right, exactly. And it's an easy mistake to make. In fact, the habeas corpus is an obvious example because it actually goes back to the Magna Carta. Yeah. Right? And so the idea that your civilization has ancestors that lived in a place where the king could haul you off And that was it, right? And the people, without throwing out the king, forced the king to agree that he didn't have that right. Okay. Yeah. So the point is, you've lived downstream of habeas corpus. I think you've lived downstream of habeas corpus until the NDAA of 2012, which destroyed it without saying so.
In the United States.
In the United States, right. So the NDAA of 2012, this is a National Defense Authorization Act, which is a giant omnibus bill that contains a zillion things that just need to get funded. But
that's annual.
Yeah, annual. But the 2012 version had these onerous provisions that basically gave the executive the ability to designate you a terrorist on its sole authority. And having done so, no matter who you are, no matter where in the world you were, it then had the right to haul you off, not acknowledge that it had you. That's where your habeas corpus rights went. And that meant you didn't have the right to a lawyer. You didn't have the right to see the evidence against you because it didn't even have to admit that you had been incarcerated. So habeas corpus lasts from, I've forgotten when the Magna Carta was exactly, till 2012, at which point it's now widely still utilized, but in extreme cases doesn't really exist, and most people are unaware of that. Even people within the court system are unaware of it. So
yes.
Is this a Chesterton's fence issue, or has somebody looked at the West and decided, oh, this is a galling structure that's getting in the way of all sorts of wonderful things that we would like to do, and so we're going to take it apart by subtly going after the foundational pillars? And the right to defend your home, the idea that, hey, here are the basics, you know, you're not allowed to shoot somebody because they've wandered across your front lawn. But once somebody has physically broken into your house, the presumption is going to be that actually they are a threat to you and you have a right to defend yourself. In many places, including California, I was interested to find out, you are not required to retreat. Right? There are places where you're required to retreat from an intruder. In California and many other places, you are not. You are allowed to defend yourself.
There are states in the United States where you are required to retreat within your own home from an intruder?
Within the United States. I believe so. We should check that. We should check that. But it is one of these things that is specifically delineated in many states. You have the right to stand your ground. So that's
in your own home?
In your own home.
I would hope so.
Yes. On the other hand, a lot depends on how the courts view these things. And the idea that you're not well protected in many cases, especially if there's a firearm involved, when you do stand your ground is an important thing to understand. So in large measure, I just wanted to highlight the question. We are all stuck with not enough information. We can see that the foundational pillars of Western civilization are being chipped away at every single place they exist. Is that because people don't know what they are and they're chipping away with them, not realizing that eventually the thing is going to collapse? Or are they under attack because something finds the rights that we have in Western civilization to be galling? And I genuinely think we don't know, but I think there's a good fraction of the latter. It seems to be that for the same reason that those rights were built into our system, they are galling to those who enjoyed the privileges of ultra elites in a prior era.
I think you're right.
Yep. All right.
Is that it?
I think so.
All right. As promised, we're going to call it a little bit short today, but we'll be back next week, same time, same place. And before we see you then, a reminder that our sponsors this week were Branch Basics, these great cleaning supplies, and Jolie with their awesome shower heads, and Crowd Health with their new Black Swan membership, which looks awesome. And really, if you can get out of the insurance rat race with Crowd Health, you should do so. We always have watch parties on Locals. Encourage you to join us there. And until we see you next time, I shouldn't say that. Until next time.
Yes, until next time.
Until next time. We talked about this on our Q&A this last, whenever that was, Sunday, about your apparent seething objection to people saying until we see you next time, when the fact is that you know and we know that we can't see you. Seething. You're seething now?
I don't know that I was seething,
You were
but
never seething.
yes, it is a pet peeve to be sure.
Yeah, okay. Until next time, be good to the ones you love, eat good food, and get outside.
Be well, everyone.